Matthew Henry's Commentary on the Whole Bible. 1 Chronicles 19. The story is here repeated of David's war with the Ammonites and the Syrians their allies, and the victories he obtained over them, which we read just as it is here related, 2 Samuel 10. Here is 1. David's civility to the king of Ammon, in sending an embassy of condolence to him on occasion of his father's death, verses 1 and 2. 2. His great incivility to David, in the base usage he gave to his ambassadors, verses 3 and 4. 3. David's just resentment of it, and the war which broke out thereupon, in which the Ammonites acted with policy in bringing the Syrians to their assistance, verses 6 and 7, Joab did bravely, verses 8 to 13, and Israel was once and again victorious, verses 14 to 19. Ill usage of David's servants, 1037 BC. 1. Now it came to pass after this, that Nahash the king of the children of Ammon died, and his son reigned in his stead. 2. And David said, I will shew kindness unto Hanan the son of Nahash, because his father shewed kindness to me. And David sent messengers to comfort him concerning his father. So the servants of David came into the land of the children of Ammon to Hanan, to comfort him. 3. But the princes of the children of Ammon said to Hanan, Thinkest thou that David doth honor thy father, that he hath sent comforters unto thee? Are not his servants come unto thee for to search, and to overthrow, and to spy out the land? For wherefore Hanan took David's servants, and shaved them, and cut off their garments in the midst hard by their buttocks, and sent them away. 5. Then there went certain, and told David how the men were served. And he sent to meet them, for the men were greatly ashamed. And the king said, Tarry at Jericho until your beards be grown, and then return. Let us here observe, 1. That it becomes good people to be neighborly, and especially to be grateful. David will pay respect to Hanan because he is his neighbor, and religion teaches us to be civil and obliging to all, to honor all men, and to be ready to do all offices of kindness to those we live among, nor must difference in religion be any obstruction to this. But besides this, David remembered the kindness which his father showed to him. Those that have received kindness must return it as they have ability and opportunity. Those that have received it from the parents must return it to the children when they are gone. 2. That, as saith the proverb of the ancients, wickedness proceedeth from the wicked, 1 Samuel 24 verse 13. The vile person will speak villainy, and the instruments of the churl will be evil, to destroy those with lying words that speak right, Isaiah 32 verses 6 and 7. Those that are base and design ill themselves, are apt to be jealous, and to suspect ill of others without cause. Hanan's servant suggested that David's ambassadors came as spies, as if so great and mighty a man as David needed to do so mean a thing. If he had any design upon the Ammonites, he could effect it by open force, and had no occasion for any fraudulent practices, or as if a man of such virtue and honor would do so base a thing. Yet Hanan hearkened to the suggestion, and, against the law of nations, treated David's ambassadors villainously. 3. Masters ought to protect their servants, and with the greatest tenderness to concern themselves for them if they come by any loss or damage in their service. David did so for his ambassadors, verse 5. Christ will do so for his ministers, and let all masters thus give unto their servants that which is just and equal. The defeat of the Ammonites, 1036 BC. 6. And when the children of Ammon saw that they had made themselves odious to David, Hanan and the children of Ammon sent 1,000 talents of silver to hire them chariots and horsemen out of Mesopotamia, and out of Syria Macha, and out of Zobah. 7. So they hired 30 and 2,000 chariots, and the king of Macha and his people, who came and pitched before Medeba. And the children of Ammon gathered themselves together from their cities, and came to battle. 8. And when David heard of it, he sent Joab, and all the host of the mighty men. 9. And the children of Ammon came out, and put the battle in array before the gate of the city, and the kings that were come were by themselves in the field. 10. Now when Joab saw that the battle was set against him before and behind, he chose out of all the choice of Israel, and put them in array against the Syrians. 11. And the rest of the people he delivered unto the hand of Abishai his brother, and they set themselves in array against the children of Ammon. 12. And he said, If the Syrians be too strong for me, then thou shalt help me, but if the children of Ammon be too strong for thee, then I will help thee. 13. Be of good courage, and let us behave ourselves valiantly for our people, and for the cities of our God, and let the Lord do that which is good in his sight. 14 So Joab and the people that were with him drew nigh before the Syrians unto the battle, and they fled before him. 15 And when the children of Ammon saw that the Syrians were fled, they likewise fled before Abishai his brother, and entered into the city. Then Joab came to Jerusalem. 16 And when the Syrians saw that they were put to the worse before Israel, they sent messengers, and drew forth the Syrians that were beyond the river, and Shapach the captain of the host of Hadarezer went before them. 17 And it was told David, and he gathered all Israel, and passed over Jordan, and came upon them, and set the battle in array against them. So when David had put the battle in array against the Syrians, they fought with him. 18 But the Syrians fled before Israel, and David slew of the Syrians 7,000 men which fought in chariots, and 40,000 footmen, and killed Shapach the captain of the host. 19 And when the servants of Hadarezer saw that they were put to the worse before Israel, they made peace with David, and became his servants, neither would the Syrians help the children of Ammon any more. We may see here, 1. How the hearts of sinners that are marked for ruin are hardened to their destruction. The children of Ammon saw that they had made themselves odious to David, verse 6, and then it would have been their wisdom to desire conditions of peace, to humble themselves and offer any satisfaction for the injury they had done him, the rather because they had made themselves not only odious to David, but obnoxious to the justice of God, who is King of nations, and will assert the injured rights and maintain the violated laws of nations. But instead of this, they prepared for war, and so brought upon themselves, by David's hand, those desolations which he never intended them. 2. How the courage of brave men is heightened and invigorated by difficulties. When Joab saw that the battle was set against him before and behind, verse 10, instead of meditating a retreat, he doubled his resolution, and though he could not double, he divided his army, and not only spoke, but acted, like a gallant man, that had great presence of mind when he saw himself surrounded. He engaged with his brother for mutual assistance, verse 12, excited himself, and the rest of the officers to act vigorously in their respective posts, with an eye to God's glory, and their country's good, not to any honor and advantage of their own, and then left the issue to God. Let the Lord do that which is right in his sight. 3. How vain the greatest art and strength are against justice and equity. The Ammonites did their utmost to make the best of their position. They brought as good a force into the field, and disposed it with as much policy as possible, yet, having a bad cause, and acting in defense of wrong, it would not do. They were put to the worst. Right will prevail and triumph at last. 4. To how little purpose it is for those to rally again, and reinforce themselves, that have not God on their side. The Syrians, though in no way concerned in the merits of the cause, but serving only as mercenaries to the Ammonites, when they were beaten, thought themselves concerned to retrieve their honor, and therefore called in the assistance of the Syrians on the other side Euphrates, but to no purpose, for still they fled before Israel. Verse 18, they lost 7,000 men, who are said to be the men of 700 chariots. 2 Samuel 10 verse 18. For, as now in a man of war for sea service they allot 10 men to a gun, so then, in land service, 10 men to a chariot. 5. Those who have meddled with strife that belongs not to them, and have found that they meddle to their own heart, do well to learn wit at length and meddle no further. The Syrians, finding that Israel was the conquering side, not only broke off their alliance with the Ammonites and would help them no more, verse 19, but made peace with David and became his servants. Let those who have in vain stood it out against God be thus wise for themselves, and agree with him quickly, while they are in the way. Let them become his servants, for they cannot but see themselves undone if they be his enemies.